We're getting close to the NBA All-Star game, All-Star weekend, everything that goes along with that. And then after that, we have the trade deadline. So to help me get up to speed on where we're at with not just the New Orleans Pelicans, but around the rest of the NBA, East, West, we'll see where we go with the conversation. But to join me to get up to speed on the NBA is Rel Myers. She is a NBA host, NBA analyst. I'll make sure all the social media information is in the podcast and the YouTube description. So make sure you tap in with her, show her some support. So my next guest on the CMD podcast is Rel Myers. Let's bring her in. Rel, how are you? Welcome to the CMD podcast. What's up?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. I do appreciate you coming on. So you cover the Pels. Obviously, you had the background and you had the T-shirt on, so obviously repping. So, obviously there was a lot to be made of the Pels coming into the season with a healthy Zion, which is always dicey, healthy Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, everything
hmm
like that. At times they've looked really good, top tier in the West. At times they've,
Yeah.
through injuries and whatnot, inconsistent play, they've kind of fallen off. So right now they're kind of middle of the pack. I think they're 500, correct?
Yeah, they're right at 500 now.
Right at 500. So kind of walk me through this season so far for people who haven't been keeping up with the Pels outside of just figuring out when Zion's coming back.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. They had two healthy games, and then third game of the season, Bi gets hurt, Zion gets hurt, and then from that point, it was kind of like, all right, is this what we're in for this season? So
Right.
Zion and Bi and CJ, so our big three, right? They have all played, I want to say, 10 games together at this point, and now we're
Wow.
52 games into the season. Yeah, so it's been a tough blow. Bi just came back; he was out for 2 months with a toe contusion or something of that nature. And so he's just kind of trying to get his legs back under him. And Zion's a week away from getting reevaluated after a hamstring injury. And CJ's been in and out of lineup here and there a little bit, but he's been the most available of the big three. But yeah, I think the expectations this season were way higher than last season. Obviously, I mean, Zion missed the entire season last year, and the Pelicans were able to squeak their way into the play-in. Were able to squeak their way into the playoffs, right? So
Yeah.
I think once we saw what Zion and CJ, well, actually, what Bi and CJ were able to do, especially, they took Phoenix to 6 games, and I think that really wore Phoenix out for that next round, right, against Dallas. So seeing what those guys would be able to do without Zion, and you think, look at this team, look how much fun they are. They're going to add Zion into this. This is going to be awesome. And then so far, they got a little bit a taste of the 1 seed, and they fell a little bit, and they got back up to the 1 seed, and now they're in 10th. They've lost
Right. Yeah.
9 straight games. It's been tough. We my co-host Daniel Salerson and I on Pels and Whistles, we were talking about potentially naming an episode. Ugh. Like, because that's just how you feel. That's how you feel watching
Word.
this team. You
Yeah.
know they can be better when they're completely healthy, but the issue is, when will they get healthy? And when they get healthy, will they stay healthy? So that's the issue
Right.
that they've been having. But I mean, on paper, these guys, they're looking really, really good. It's just, can they translate that to on the court? And can they take care of business?
How frustrating, I guess, has that aspect of it, where you saw what they were able to accomplish last year, even without Zion, and we were kind of teased, as you mentioned, twice getting to the number one seed in the West. In the West, that's quite frankly very wide open. Like there's no clear
Yeah,
dominant team in that conference. So how frustrating has it been to just kind of follow that team and see that when they're all there, as you said, 10 times, like that's not even a good sample size to even figure out what that looks like. So how
it's
how has
not.
that been trying to keep up with this team and track how they track the ups and downs?
It's tough. It's tough. I think last year Pell's Twitter it was a nice little place. We built this nice little community online, and now that there's these expectations and the team isn't doing good, everyone's just at each other's throats, right? So
Right.
um I just, like you said, it's a really, really small sample size, and with the trade deadline coming up, it's, what do they do? Do they just decide to like stand pat and just say, hey, we're going to get healthy at some point and we trust this group of guys we have? Or do you want to try to bring somebody else in who can be, fourth option when we're healthy, or be second option when we're not healthy, or something like that? So it's been really frustrating. And you can't really blame a team for going on a skid like they've gone on when you have 2 all-stars missing from your lineup. And now,
Correct.
Brandon Ingram's played 2 games since he's come back from injury, and you can't expect him to just be going for like 30 every night off injury. Like he's got to get back into game shape. And I think people have just lost patience. But you know how fans get. We don't really see the
Facts.
big picture all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone's really stressed out. There's some people who I will say are very calm, and they're like, look, I know what it is when we're healthy, and we're gonna be healthy at some point. And when we get there, just remember this. Remember how you felt at this time. And when we
Right.
start winning again, you'll be even more happy. So this has been
Yeah.
crazy.
How has I've been a big champion of Bi. I call him Young Reaper because he just
Young
reminds
Reaper,
me so
yeah.
much of Slim Reaper. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like on this pod, everyone knows like when it comes to Young Reaper Bi, like I'm all in. So how has
Yeah.
he looked in his first couple of games back? Obviously, it's going to be some rust there, but in terms of getting
Mhm.
acclimated, looking more like himself, how has he looked so far?
I would say in his first game back, it was kind of like, all right, where he's getting to his spots, he's getting where he needs to be on the floor, but the shots just weren't really falling so much. That second game back, I want to say he might have got like 22 points, 5 or 6 rebounds, and the same for the assists. So it was like, all right, so it's a pretty decent stat line,
Right.
especially for a guy coming off an injury like that. That's having a toe injury like that a lot of people have compared to. Like turf toe, that's really tough,
Right.
and it's hard for you to push off on something like that. But he looks like he's moving around well. It's just a matter of shots going in, and sometimes they just don't. And so people are kind of panicking. Some people putting them in the trade machine, and that's just way too much. You can't throw the Slim Reaper in it. You can't throw the
Nah,
Young
you
Reaper.
can't. You really can't. You know what I'm saying? You really
It's
can't. Like,
nuts. This instant like gratification thing that fans have going on. Like we
right.
all just gotta take a break, just relax.
And there's been a lot of reports of the Grizzlies and the Pels both trying to get OG and Anobi, and
Yeah.
the Pels don't want the Grizz to get them, and vice versa. So I mean, I hope not. But is there a scenario where, in a desperation to go get OG, that someone like Bi is in a trade for OG? Like, have we gotten to that point?
No, no chance. There's no chance our front
Okay,
office would
good.
do that. I think
Okay,
when KD made his trade request, which he was never going to get traded anyway, right?
facts.
They wouldn't
Yeah,
even give up Bi for KD. So if they're not giving
gotcha.
him up for KD, they're not giving him up for
Damn
OG
sure not for
anymore.
no OG. Okay,
And all,
okay.
and it's another thing with like we haven't been healthy. If we end up getting OG, how many games did OG play last year? He played like 45 games or something. Now this year he's already
Right,
at like the same number. He's already at about 44,
right. He's healthy
45
this
games
year.
played.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can you count on him to be healthy? You really just never know. But yeah, Bi is not the guy who they're trying to put in any trade scenarios for anybody. He was the first one to commit to us, and after he got traded here, he ended up signing an extension.
Right.
And he appears to want to be here. And we always say here, if you love New Orleans, she'll love you back. And so we just have to
Mm-hmm.
keep doing that. He
Yeah.
he's done
Yeah.
good things for us. And it's a lot of people try to look at it like, well, what has he done for the Pelicans? They haven't won a
That's
championship
sick.
yet. And it's like, bro, look, some guys go their whole career and don't ever win anything. Like the point
Facts.
fraud that
Yeah.
you was talking about.
Hey, there you go. Let's go. We will get
I
there.
gotta
Trust.
bring it up.
Yeah.
Man.
So
So
I
yeah.
mean, who would be in a trade for OG? Like, well, what pieces do you think would be expendable? Like, where's there a surplus of pieces that they could get rid of to get an OG?
So I'm not entirely sure what the draft capital is looking like for the Pelican situation right
Okay.
now. I just know
Hmm.
we got picks, we got assets. Like we can pretty much get whoever we want. It's just a matter of, do we really want OG, or is that just something that like got leaked by somebody else? Like did Toronto leak that to try to drive up the price? Like who
That's
really
there you
knows?
go. Let's go.
But
Talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you know how fans always think that they can trade guys from the end of their bench to go get somebody
Facts.
else's
Something
star,
for
and
nothing.
it's not going to work that way. So there's a lot of people in Pelicans Twitter who are obsessed with the trade machine, and they're always putting Jackson Hayes, Devonte Graham, and Garrett Temple in there, and they're like, if we throw those three in a couple of picks, it'll just be all good. Exactly, like I see your face. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people are saying like, if we were to try to get somebody like OG, there's no way we'd be able to keep um Herb Jones, Trey Murphy,
There you
Dyson
go.
Daniels. Like
Right.
at least one of those guys would be gone. So it's like,
Right.
and some people think Herb could be OG. He could be better than OG in the future. He's only a second year player. He was a second round draft pick.
Hmm.
And the Pelicans are really high on him. You know, he became a starter in game 2 last season. And I
Wow.
think that Herb, I think he overachieved a little bit last year. I think he went beyond our expectations, and so this year he's kind of, to some people, maybe playing like a rookie, and it's like, well, he's regressed. Well, what's going on? Why don't we just get rid of him for OG? And it's like, well, you know, it's not that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you, I'm really looking forward to the deadline because I have no idea what's gonna happen. Like, I'd like to say the Pelicans will make a trade and end up getting Gary Trent Jr. instead of OG or
Ooh.
either one of
Okay.
them, but
Okay.
I think we might have to make some sort of move, but
Right.
I think if they don't do anything, it's going to be a full meltdown online. I'm telling you.
Is that where you think they need to upgrade in terms of maybe getting like a 3 and D type of player, like a Gary Trent? Like, is that you know?
I think if we're prioritizing between a 3 and D guy or some rim protection, we need rim
Okay.
protection. I think we need but at the same time, if we're going to go out there and get rim protection and we're going to get another backup big, I think we had better be playing that person. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of
Mm,
times when Jonas Valanciunas comes out of the game, we put in Larry Nance, and Larry Nance plays a small ball
yeah.
five. We hardly ever play Jackson Hayes. We hardly ever play Billy Aaron Gomez. If we're gonna send, any of those backup bigs out and get another one in, we need to be letting the guy play. Like, we
Exactly.
can't do the
Yeah.
small ball
Yeah.
thing against everybody because there's gonna be some centers out there that's gonna kill you. Nikola Jokic, he's gonna kill you. You know what I mean?
Facts. Yeah,
So
for sure. And low key, I'm kind of glad the whole Jackson Hayes thing is kind of been put out the pasture because I was like, yo, how many more years do you need to see? He just ain't it.
yeah,
Like, he could be a rotational big off the bench, but in terms of
yeah. The
starting him, and
potential's there. The
it's
potential is
there, but
there. I
how
don't
many
know.
years you gonna wait on it? Like, it's like,
Right.
and you're
This is
gonna
his
re up
fourth
him?
year with
Like,
them.
come
Yeah.
on.
I
So
think he's a restricted free agent this summer,
that's what I'm
and
saying. Like,
I don't know.
I'm
You don't want to
good
let
if
him walk.
if I'm the Pels. Like, I've seen enough. Go ahead. I'm not
But
matching. Go ahead and get
the
whatever.
crazy thing, like, they'll bench him for like several games at a time, and then they'll
Mhm.
play him again, and he'll be like, "All right, I got my stuff together." And it's like, a lot of us, we love Jackson Hayes, and it's like this tough love thing where it's like, listen, I know you can do it, so why don't you just go out
Right.
there and do it? Like,
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
season, Zion was out, Jackson Hayes was starting at the 4 for us. Jackson is
Mm.
great as a 4. He just is not a great 5 in the NBA, and it just is what it is. But he's very new to basketball. He's a football player. He plays basketball in the
Got
way
you.
football players do. He wants to get the highlight as opposed to, making the fundamental play. So, and the highlights are cool,
That's
and he's always
mm.
going to post his highlights on Instagram, so we give him a hard time about that.
Right. Yeah.
But that's the society we live in now.
So, but yeah, I mean, facts. But see, that to me is interesting that he plays better as a 4 because
hmm
I okay. What skill set did he show at the 4 that he for some reason forgets when he's a 5? Like, is he
I
more
feel like,
adept at the rim? Like, is he getting better looks? I don't.
I think, yeah, he might be getting better. He's cutting more, I think, instead of just standing around. But I mean,
More
sometimes you
active.
throw him in
Okay.
there and he'll end up in the corner and he's waiting to shoot a corner three. And it's like, now, Jackson, you
Mm,
better get out of
yeah.
that corner.
Anybody but you, bro. Like,
And he
yeah.
might make it though. That's the crazy thing, is
Wow.
I've seen him make it on occasion.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things, and I don't know if he's in his own head or if there's, it could be one of those situations where, they're telling him, okay, go over there in the corner, and we're thinking, hey, Jax, why are you over there in the corner? Like, he might just be doing what they asked him to do. But at the same time, you have to think, okay, well, why would they ask him to do that? But
Right.
um it's just a weird thing ever since we've gotten him. But yeah, the potential's there. It's just the real funny thing how the way this is like shaking out with him. So I think he could be on his way out, but at the same time, you just really never know.
Right. And assuming Zion comes back relatively soon, I know he started working out again. He was able to run
hmm
full speed and all of that.
hmm
You know, big picture, how good how good can you see this roster being, or how good can you think that big 3 that has only been on the court 10 times, assuming BI gets his legs underneath him, assuming Zion
hmm
gets his legs back underneath him, and CJ doesn't get hurt, how good can this team be in your eyes?
I'd say they're a top 4 in the West team. And I still think that when Zion comes back, if they can like really lock in for the rest of the regular season, I think they could potentially get back to the third seed or fourth seed. But I mean, them falling to 10th in this 9-game losing streak, if you look at the standings, I want to say fourth through 10th, or maybe even 11th, it's only separated by like 4 or 5 games. It's not a
Correct.
lot.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, it's one of those things where I hate to rely on other teams to lose so the Pelicans can start moving back up, because really
Yeah.
you can you can only control what you can control. So they got to go out there and win some games. And it's just a shame that Memphis went on a 5-game losing streak. I want to say something similar to that, and the Pelicans weren't able to capitalize because they were on their own 6-game losing streak at the time or something like that. So
Hmm.
I think a fully healthy team, they could easily be top 4. They could end up in the Western Conference Finals maybe next year, maybe not this year. I just don't really know. I think I had much higher. I don't want to say I had much higher expectations, but it's weird because when the season started, I said, you know what? I just want to be top 6. I just want to skip the play-in, and that'll
Okay.
be an upgrade as opposed to like how we did last season.
Right.
But now you get to number 1 2 times in the season, and then you start losing and losing and losing, and then you end up in
Yeah.
10th. It's like, now hold on, like,
Right.
wait a minute. I've seen what you can do. So what's the issue? What's going on? And so
Exactly.
seems like it's an identity thing. Not only were they without their 2 stars, but it's also just like, where's the energy? What are we doing out here? Like, let's just, like Willie Green said in the playoffs, you got to fight.
Yeah,
Where's
for
the fight?
sure.
But they
Yeah.
had a terrible schedule to go into missing your top guys like that. I think all the teams they've played have been in the top 5 in the East and the West this whole time. So it's been a rough 30 or so days.
So, following up on that, Willie Green, he's a guy that is, you know, I won't say he was the sexiest name in terms of when he was hired. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But he certainly showed his acumen and showed that he knows what he's doing, and he more than deserves to have the role that he has.
Yeah.
How have how have you watched his philosophy? Like, is this team fully in his image? What's the identity of a Willie Green coach team based off what you've seen?
Um, Willie said this thing one time to one of the guys. He said, "I'm not calling you out. I'm calling you up." So
Mm,
he seems to be a guy who's gonna hold people accountable, but he's also not just gonna be like a total a-hole, right? Like, he's a breath of fresh air for these guys coming off of that year that they had with Stan Van Gundy. In
right.
that season, they played some decent basketball in that season. Zion was amazing in that season.
Hmm.
Um, but those guys just they did not like Stan Van
They
Gundy
tune
from
stand
what.
out, huh?
Yeah, it's like, did he lose the locker room? At what point did he lose the locker room? So I
Right.
think them bringing Willie in, he's a I guess a player's coach, as some people will call it. They seem to really enjoy being coached by him, and they enjoy being around him. And it's he's a younger coach too. I think Stan just doesn't understand um, the youth. He doesn't understand today's youth, right? Like, I don't know if you saw the thing the other day with him and
Just
KD, and
learned.
KD said he was
Yeah.
spitting, and he was
Yeah,
like, "What are you
yeah. Now,
talking
now,
about?"
now he's saying bussin'. He's got the Urban Dictionary
He
in
said
the
that.
bookmarks now. He's going crazy now.
Man. That's
But
nuts. So yeah, he was out of touch, and Willie is way more in touch. And Willie was, he was on Monty Williams' staff, and Monty used to play here. And Monty was loved when he was here, which is funny to me because when Monty was here, I was like, "Nah, we got to get that guy out of here." And it sucks that he got
right,
fired after a good season. Like, who does that? But I don't know.
yeah.
We was just doing crazy stuff back then.
So I know this. I've been following Zion through all the hype, even before Duke and all that, from all the Ball is Life videos and him just
Yeah.
destroying. Seemed like 10-year-olds in a high school gym. How what's his impact on this team when he's around? Like, it seems to be like once he's there, everyone just kind of knows what to do, and most
Yeah,
of the time it's get the hell out the way and let Zion be Zion. But
that's
like,
it.
yeah. So, what have you seen when Zion's there and he's got the full complement of parts? Like, how has he progressed from year to year?
Zion really strikes me as a guy who just wants to play, and he just wants to win. And I think an underrated part of his game is his passing. There's a lot of times where he's drawing 3 defenders, he's drawing 4 defenders. And he seems to, and he gets some turnovers every now and then, they might hack him and he lose the ball. I don't think he gets a great whistle, but
Mm,
he makes the right play, I would say, more often than not. And I think when you're handling the ball as much as he does sometimes, obviously you're going to end up turning the ball over here and there. But I think in that Stan Van Gundy year, when we unlocked the point Zion philosophy, that was
right.
awesome. And then Willie tried to tap into that a little bit here or there this season. And it's just like, hey, let him take the ball up the court. And he needs to be touching the ball on every play. Like, you need to give him a
Yeah.
touch. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what the play call is. And if the
Yeah.
option ain't there, you need to toss it to him, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we just make sure this guy gets a touch. But he can really, really dominate. And in particular, I love to watch him play against guys like Rudy Gobert, because Rudy Gobert is this, defensive player of the year guy, and he's supposed to be so scary and all of
Right.
this stuff. No, Zion's gonna move him right
In his
about the way.
chest. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right
Move
about the
out the
way.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not scared of none of that. So Zion grew up, his mom had him watching guys like Jordan and people back from like the 90s and everything. And he's not like the other players that are coming in the last few years who like their favorite player in the world is LeBron and they just idolize LeBron and love LeBron.
Hmm.
He's a Jordan guy. Zion's a Jordan
Salute.
guy.
I'm
He
here for
watching
it.
all them
Yeah.
old dudes,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, he just goes out there and he just wants to win no matter what. And he's not the type who's gonna want to be load managed under any sort of like way. Like, he just wants to go out there and ball. That's it. Especially since the game was taken away from him last year. He didn't get to play at
Right.
all. And he's just like, why does this keep happening to me? And I think a lot of people forget the human element. Like, these guys are people, they have feelings. He wanted to play and he couldn't play. So imagine how awful that feels, right? So when he's
Right.
back and he out there doing windmill 360s,
Freak,
like,
man.
he
Dude is
just having
crazy.
fun, and I
Yeah.
love to see him out there having fun. So yeah, it'll be good to get him back. Hopefully he'll get a game or two under his belt before the break. Because
Hmm.
I'd love to see him go get that all-star start, because
For
he's a
sure.
starter, right? So go out
Yeah.
there, get a quick dunk, and go have a seat, because we don't need to risk
Yeah.
anything.
how how has I've always been curious, popping in and trying to watch as many games as I can. How
Yeah,
have him and Bi played off each other? Because Bi is a ball dominant guy as well, so they
yeah.
both need their touches. They're both very ball dominant. Do they just kind of take turns? Is there a little two-man game? Like, how have they worked off of each other, if they have?
I feel like they kind of take turns, right? I'd be interested to see them play like a little 2-man game, do like a little high pick and roll, something like that.
For sure,
They
yeah.
don't get into a lot of that, surprisingly.
Hmm.
Just not from what I remember. But I'm still of the mindset that I just watch the game as like a regular fan. Like, I don't watch and be like, oh, okay, he's got a hedge, he's got to do this. Like, I don't,
Right, right.
I don't break it down like that in real time when
Yeah,
I'm watching. I'm just looking. I'm like, yeah, like, I'm a season ticket holder. I'm just out there looking,
yeah.
So but no, I think they kind of just will like take turns a little bit. And there's times where like it's crazy, because you don't want to double team Zion and leave a guy like Bi open, and
Right.
vice versa. You don't want to leave Zion open, because if he cut or something
That's
and
it.
his man is over there on Bi, so
You know what's happening.
I've
Yeah.
yeah, what's about to happen. So they it's just crazy, because it's like they've only played together a few times this season, and then last season
Hmm.
not at all, and the season before that, it seems like a lifetime ago. And sometimes I have to
Right.
go back on League Pass and watch those first couple games of the season just to see them play together.
Yeah.
So last night I was watching a game from November 21st. The
Wow.
Pelicans are playing the Spurs, and we had and CJ was out that game. I'm like, dude,
Oh,
come on.
see,
But
can't even.
but just what they was going off that game. Zion had a really good game that night, and yeah, they just kind of it's an insane 1-2 punch to have to endure for defenses. And I want to say the only no, but I don't think anybody can really guard Zion one on one, except I've seen with my own eyes
Oh,
Drew
okay.
Holiday. Drew
Ah,
Holiday.
yeah, he's a wizard. I don't know how he does it. Big,
He had Zion in
small, he's
hell.
locking you. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That was
I
tough.
remember
That
that
was
game.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So aside from him, he's the only one who can hold his own. And Drew's strong. And a lot of guys will say
Yes.
that. They're like, he's much stronger than he
They
appears to
sleep on
be.
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I've seen a lot of his trainer who he works with over like the last several years, I've seen a lot of videos of the stuff that he has that guy, his guys doing, and I've seen a lot of stuff he's had Drew doing, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. This
Yeah.
dude is in the lab, and he might be,
Yeah.
however tall he may be, he's able to kind of shut down a dude like Zion. And it's crazy because when you say shut down, I mean Zion probably still had like maybe 16 or so points that game.
Sure.
So by his standards,
Exactly.
that was
Because
a poor
you
game.
figured if you're putting a 6'2", 6'3" guy on Zion, like, oh, that's a 30 piece, easy, 30,
yeah.
probably a triple double. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
yeah, no.
And Drew might have been, he might have been hacking. Who knows? I don't.
I mean,
but
he does get away. He does get away with a lot of
and
stuff.
Zion don't be
Drew-
getting them calls. You know, it's the way, it's like they haven't figured out how to officiate him, and it's like they
Yeah.
kind of penalize players that are strong, and it's like, hey,
Yes.
just because he went up and he made that doesn't mean that the old boy just didn't slap the heck out of his armies.
Facts.
Now,
Facts.
like you gonna call
We
it?
saw with
Call
LeBron
it.
against Boston the other night. Like he went
Oh,
up,
that was
clearly got hacked,
wild.
and I mean
That
LeBron
was
went a
wild.
little overboard. But I mean,
I
the
laughed.
fact of the matter, it was hilarious. And then Pat Bev with the camera, like, come on, son.
Yeah,
But
that was nuts. That was
sick,
nuts.
sick.
But yeah, I'm excited for I want to say what's today, Thursday, next week, maybe on Tuesday or something like that. They're gonna reevaluate Zion, and yeah, hopefully he can get on the court sometime next week, and maybe Pelicans will make a trade. He'll have a new teammate to play with out there.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Well, hopefully one person that stays past the trade deadline is my new favorite player in the NBA, Jose Alvarado, because
I'm
of
so glad.
his angst against the point fraud who you lovingly mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk
love
about this
dude.
bad,
Bruh. Yo. the fact that I feel like he's one of the few players that's still in the league that understands the fraudulence of Christopher Paul.
There's
I
no
want him to
love
do
between those
everything.
dudes. There's no love.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I think Jose always gets that Pat Bev comparison, and he's even compared himself to Pat Beverly, right? But it's just
Really?
their similarities
Okay.
and I wouldn't say someone asked Jose, who do you compare yourself to? And he goes,
Yeah,
Pat Bev.
I
It
would
wasn't
hope he
that
thinks he's
situation.
better than Pat Bev.
Yeah, it wasn't that situation. It was like they were playing against the Wolves, and he told the referee, he was like, I'm just a light-skinned version of him. So that's the context there. That's the context. But I think in terms of just being a pest, being pesky, that's their similarities, and I think that's where it ends. I don't think that Pat Beverly's going to take the court this year and get a 38-point game like Jose Alvarado did.
No.
Like he can actually hoop, but he comes out there, he's an energy guy, and he's like he's a positive energy guy too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and he's one of those guys he's going to bother you if you're a Suns fan or a fan of like whatever other team. He's going to bother you just because he's guarding somebody 94 feet. And I get it. I've seen guys like TJ McConnell. One time TJ McConnell had me so upset because I was like, why are you playing so hard? Like, give us a break.
Yeah. And now you have one of your own. It's like, oh, now I get it.
Exactly. Right. So Jose, I mean, he was undrafted, and the Pelicans brought him in on their summer league team. And, he ended up signing as a two-way. And he once he got the opportunity, he did so well that they went ahead and signed him before the playoffs. Because otherwise, if you're two-way, you're not playing, you're not eligible for playoffs. So they signed him to an actual contract towards the end of the season, and they got him on like a great deal. And so he's just he used to just be the guy on the sideline with the highlighter shoes, and we'd be like, who is that dude? He's biggest cheerleader over there. And now he's out there beating his chest, and Chris Paul's knocking out his teeth, and he's getting elbow. He's amazing. He's amazing. And I think the only thing working against him is his size. I think a lot of times you'll put him out there with CJ, who's shorter than these other big kids who are coming into the league these days. So when you put him out there with CJ, it gets a little bit rough. You put Jose out there with Devontae Graham, it is bad. It's bad.
It's Hobbit season.
It's rough, but he's got so much fight in him, and guys like Najee Marshall, he was also undrafted, and we brought him onto the team. And those two, they love each other. They're two peas in a pod, right?
Yeah, so
for sure. Guys like that, you just love to have them in your corner.
Yeah, Alvarado is so good because, well, I'll ask you this first. Is he still trying to sneak people from behind? Is he still trying to get that move off? Because I know he snuck up on people, like literally, and was able to like trick some people. But now that people know his steez, is he
People
still able
know.
to every now and then get that off?
Yeah, it's happening at much less of a frequency these
Okay,
days
yeah,
because
okay,
the scouting
okay.
report is out. Guys looking
Yeah,
over their
yeah,
shoulders
yeah. Always
now.
look behind, keep your head on the
Yeah,
swivel. Yeah,
they know,
yeah.
they know. And I've even seen I don't know if it was Najee or if it was another guy on the team. Somebody tried to do it the other day, and it's like it doesn't really have the same effect because you can't really blend into the bench. You can't blend into the crowd at your
Right,
size. But with Jose
right.
being his size and he crouched down a
You,
little
you
bit,
think a fan might
you,
be coming on the court, like you
you're
don't
not
know
gonna
who that
see
is running up
you're
on
not
you.
gonna see
Like,
him.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I think a
yeah.
referee told him one time you have to be on the court because he was like out of bounds at one
Right,
point. The
right,
referee told him
right.
you had to be on the court. So he stands in the very corner and he's
That's
like,
amazing.
y'all don't
I
pay
love that.
attention. I'm gonna come and get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Man.
um, I think touching on the West a little bit, like who's the toughest team, or who has given this team the toughest matchup so far? Has it been the Grizz and the whole rivalry that's on the come up? Has it been the Suns and the point fraud and all of that? Like, who's been their toughest matchup, you think? Or who gets in the most trouble?
It's really tough to say because we haven't been
They haven't been
healthy.
healthy, right? Yeah.
When we played, they got the Suns regular season series out of the way quickly. That's
Mm,
been done since mid December, and they split the series 2-2. But every single game, somebody was missing from either side.
got you.
So it's hard to say if the Suns are really like an issue for the Pelicans at this point. With Memphis, it's pretty much the same. He hurt his toe in a game against Memphis in the first half, so he missed the second half, and we ended up getting blown out by like 20 or so points or something like that.
Mm,
Um, if there's any team, and they beat Denver. The Pelicans had beat Denver the first time, and the second
okay.
time they lost, and the third time they lost. But we've seen that they can beat them. But I
Right.
think if we're going into the playoffs against any other team that's fully healthy, I think the only team I wouldn't want them to play in the playoffs healthy would be the Clippers. Which is weird because I
Really?
just have not believed in them at all this season. But
Right.
because they ain't been healthy either, and it's like,
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
Kawhi gonna load manage through the playoffs?
Right.
So it's
Facts.
like I don't want those problems in the
Yeah.
playoffs specifically. And with Memphis, with them, I feel like that comes down to who has home court advantage. And
Okay.
I don't think we'll get to a point where we'll flip in the standings with them. I don't think we'll end up back on top. But those guys, they play so well on their home court. And the Pelicans play well on their court too, but not as good as Memphis does on theirs. So I would hate to do a 7-game series, and everybody wants it. Everybody wants a Memphis and New Orleans series. And I'm like,
Yeah.
nah, we need home court advantage if we're going to take it that way. I'm telling you, like,
Yeah.
home court advantage is going to play into it heavily. So yeah, it's really hard to say because we haven't been healthy. No one in the West has really been healthy.
Right.
But as far as my personal preference, I think the Clippers are number one on the don't want to face them healthy list. But hey, maybe I'm underestimating my team. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, kind of thinking about it off the top of my head, like I'm not that mad at that matchup because Kawhi or Paul George is going to have to guard Bi.
Yeah.
So that means you're probably going to get. Let's assume Kawhi takes Zion because of the
Yeah.
size. So then you
Yeah.
got
Who's their
PG.
four? Who's the Clippers for right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean,
I'd,
I hope it's not Batum. I know he's still getting minutes.
oh yeah,
Well,
it could
Zubac is the
be
5.
right. And I like the
Morris twin.
Zubac.
They have a
Oh
Morris twin.
geez,
So it might
uh,
what's gonna happen if a Morris twin out there.
not a
Zion's gonna get
fan.
hacked up. Zion's
Not a
gonna
fan.
gonna live at that free throw line.
Yeah,
So
I like the Zubac Valanciunas matchup. Valanciunas
that would
plays
be good.
crazy against the Spurs because Zubac he won't come out there, and JV gonna shoot that three.
Now, yeah,
And
he
if he make
is.
one,
He's been
if he
making them
make
for a
one,
few years now. Like that should be on the scouting report. Like, what's up with that?
he hit like 7 in the first half against the Clippers one time, and it's like, when are you
Wow.
gonna get out there and guard him? You can
Right.
keep
You're just
leaving
gonna
him
let
open if
him
you want.
keep. Wow. Okay.
JV be going crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
So I like the center matchup.
Right.
Um, But yeah, as far as the other positions, just like I don't know if I want
That's
to deal with
tough.
that. Not in the
That's
first
tough.
round. Not in the first
Oh
round. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
maybe the
yeah.
second round.
You don't want to face Kawhi the first round. Like at
Not
least
in
let
the
me get to the
first.
second round before I gotta deal with him.
Yeah, that's all I want.
Yeah,
You know, the
yeah.
Pelicans, they haven't been to the second round since the 2018 playoff run.
That
So
was
this,
AD's last year, right?
yeah, this
Yeah, they swept
current
the Blazers.
era,
Yeah,
yeah, man, and that's a whole other thing because how you go out there and sweep somebody and make franchise history, and then immediately you're like, you know what, guys, I don't think I want to come back after that because he
yeah. You know what I'm
played that
saying? Like,
next season,
Bron texts
but
me so. Rich
that was
Paul and
nuts.
them. Yeah,
Right. So we got to
yeah,
get back to the second round. That's like, first round, okay, cool, whatever. But we need to be able to advance to the second round to say we've made some progress with the current, personnel that we got.
right. Um, Rel Myers is my guest. She is a co-host of the Pels and Whistles podcast, Believe Podcast Network. So check for her social media information in the YouTube and podcast description. Um, Rel, I think I can't do an NBA podcast without at least mentioning Bron and this whole record stuff. I mean, to me, it's a whole bunch of compiling, but I'll fall back. It's all good.
Yeah.
From what you have seen just over the years, this whole LeBron thing, and I don't know if you're a Jordan person or a LeBron person or maybe a Kobe person. I don't know, but to talk to me about your feelings on LeBron on the cusp breaking this once hollowed record of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career scoring record.
I learned something about myself recently. I'm a hater.
Oh, so
I am
you're
a
perfect for
big
this podcast. Let's
I'm a
go.
big hater. I
Let's
realized
go.
that it's like, man, I need to chill. I just need to be, happy people. I just been like, just
Yeah.
disgruntled all the time. But there was a point in time when the Warriors were doing their thing when I was cheering for LeBron. Somewhere
Mm.
along the way, I was like, I never cheered for LeBron. What are you talking about?
Right,
Because I was so
right.
busy hating on Golden State at the
Hey,
time,
there you go. Always got to
so
find somebody to hate. Yeah.
see, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
just like, wow, I'm 33 years of age now. I just realized in my Jesus year that I am a big old hater. So it's a really cool milestone for him to achieve. And I can't imagine who's gonna come into the league and get anywhere close to getting to breaking that record. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, I just think that a lot of things surrounding him, everything's gotta be a story, right? So it's
Oh,
like they put in every game on national TV some sort of way because he's about to break
right.
the record. Which okay, when Steph had his thing for the 3-point
They did the
record, they put
same.
that on
Yep.
TV. Okay,
Yep.
cool, very happy for him. But with LeBron, I feel like the thing with Bronny. Bronny's like 34th in his class. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, wherever he goes, I'm gonna go. Okay, so now you're altering the lives of how many draft picks because you
Exactly.
said this?
Yeah. 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 He's turning
Everything's
into
gotta be a
LeVar
story.
Ball. Like he's on some
Oh,
LeVar Ball mess, but he's LeBron, so he gets away with it. Like that's something LeVar would have
jeez.
said, and we would have roasted him for it.
That's a fact. And I ended up becoming. I'm glad you brought that up because my entire life I was raised to be a Laker hater. But the one
Okay.
time that I became, um, like they became kind of like my second team that I like to watch on the side
Mm-hmm.
was when they drafted Lonzo because I felt like the way everybody was hating on LeVar, I really wanted to see Lonzo and Jello and Melo succeed because what
Right.
they dad got going on ain't got nothing to do with them
Nothing.
and what they doing on the court. So I
Right.
would love to see those guys succeed and and we ended up getting Lonzo and I was like,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
that's cool. And so he's had, his injury issues as of
Oh,
late, and he's nowhere
yeah.
near close to returning. And so I feel so
No.
bad for his current situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the only year I ever cheered for the Lakers after, and my mom, she would be so upset if she knew because it was her fault. I didn't like the Lakers as a
Right.
kid, right? But I was cheering for them and I really liked all those guys. And it's crazy how we ended up getting Lonzo, BI,
Right.
Josh Hart. We got Larry Nance now. He
All the
used to play for
Lakers.
them.
Yeah.
Julius Randle, he used to play for them. So,
Right.
but then somewhere along the way, LeBron decides, you know what I'm gonna do, where I want to go play.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
go to LA, and I'll never forget when I got the Woj bomb. I said, "Are you serious, bruh?" I was like, "I can't do this. Now I'm gonna be lumped in with the bandwagoners, and I can't support
Can't.
this." And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. Can't be that. Can't be that. Yeah,
never that.
yeah,
So and
yeah.
then it just escalated from there. Made things worse. He's pandering. He's tampering. He's getting in AD's ear, and so from that point forward, it's
Oh,
like, you know what, LeBron, I'm not rocking with you. But the
right.
record. The record is super cool. I don't think anybody will touch it for a really, really long time. So whenever he gets it, and there was a chance that he could get it this Saturday against the Pelicans. I don't think it's gonna happen. He would have to get like
Mm.
45 points in the next, like, for both games. I don't
Oh,
think it's gonna
wow.
happen. So
Wow.
maybe OKC, but again,
Yeah.
LeBron and the storylines, they're playing the Bucks on TNT on like Tuesday.
Tailor made. Yeah.
What better
Yeah.
time?
You already know. Yep. Yep.
What better
Yep.
time? We know the game.
I just want to know, has LeBron finished reading the Malcolm X book from a few years ago? I think he's
Never.
still on like the prologue, the prelogue. Like I don't think he's even gotten to chapter 1. I think he's still on Malcolm Little. I don't think he's even gotten to Detroit Red or anything yet. Like
He ain't reading that book, man. He ain't reading it. He be playing Madden at the house. Savannah blew up his spot. She's showing
yes,
videos of
I
him.
peeped that too. Yeah, yeah. Like that's all he does. Like I hoop and I play Madden. Like that's
That's it,
literally like all he does.
man.
Like I'm
You ain't got a
tampering,
front.
I make bad movies, and then I go hoop. Like that's it. House
Somebody got to tell
party, I be
LeBron, you ain't got to lie to kick it, Bron. You ain't got to lie,
facts,
dog.
facts. Like seriously though. Yeah.
He's a
I'm
funny dude.
he is in a very I don't think he means to be funny, but just the way he moves is like, bruh, like that's
It's
hilarious.
crazy. He says he always knew this and always knew that, and so
Right.
that
Just be
became a
lying.
meme.
Like why we all got that one homie that does that. Like, yo, this dude stay lying, bruh. But imagine
Yeah,
if that homie is LeBron. Like, how do you
right.
press like
How do you defend
your
this?
lying homie is a billionaire. All right, then he gonna get these lies off around me. I'm trying to get a
Facts.
deal or two. I want to be Mav Carter,
Oh, for real? Shoot.
you know. Um as I wrap up here and thank you so much for appearing. I do appreciate it. And hopefully the audience is
Anytime.
tapping in with your social networking. I'll make sure to have all that in the podcast description, the YouTube description. Um, as big picture it for me, there's a lot of teams
Mhm.
in the West. There's a lot of teams that come into, are they still calling it the blender? Or have we moved on from,
It's gonna stay the blender
okay,
for at least another year or so. Because Smoothie
okay,
King, their naming rights, I think, ends in 2024. So when they get a new
mm,
name, we'll have to get a new
okay,
nickname. But the blender is
gotcha.
very fitting. Very fitting.
Yes,
It's
yes.
loud.
I
Loud in
that's
there.
probably my favorite of all the arena nicknames. I'm like, yo, they really calling the spot the blender. You know what? I'm rolling. I'm rolling.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. Um, but of all the teams in the West, obviously we want the Pels to succeed, assuming they're actually going to be healthy over the second half of the
Mhm.
year. Are the Warriors done? Because I'm still reserved. I want to bury him. I got the shovel. I'm ready to dig 6 feet. But something about Steph, something about them maybe making a move at the deadline, just getting
Yeah.
healthy in general, makes me
And I
not
hadn't
want
thought
to
about
bury
that.
them.
I
Right.
hadn't even thought about that as far as them making any sort of move, because
Because they got all them young guys. Like,
they
all of them can't
do.
stay.
That's true. That's
And
true
their
too.
window is like, it's closing. Like, they might be able to crowbar maybe a year or two if they make
Ooh.
the right trade. But
Man, look, what if? Oh, this
let's,
is bad.
oh,
This is
go
really
ahead. Go
bad.
ahead. I see the wheels turning. Let's go.
Jay Crowder got to get moved.
Hey,
What if?
hey, hey. All of a sudden, he'll start hitting threes like he's back in the bubble. Like,
Hey, and we
I
don't
mean,
up in the blender. We don't rock with Jay Crowder. You might have heard the chants last season. We don't rock with Jay
yes,
Crowder in
yes.
the
Now
blender.
he's a guy that is so weird to me because he can't shoot, but for some
Crazy.
reason, when
It's
you need
going
him to
in.
shoot, it goes in.
Going in.
Like he can't shoot. Like he's going to
It's
shoot
frustrating.
30%
Yep.
all year long, but then
Yep.
in the bubble or in the big playoff series, he gets hot. Like he is
He
boss
makes it when
man
it matters.
99. Like, come on. Anyone who calls himself boss man always got to be a little weary
In,
of you
in
and how you
capital
carry
letters.
yourself. Yeah,
In
yeah.
capital letters.
Boss man, all caps. Come on. Come
But
on.
Yeah, no, I totally like sidetracked that one. I don't feel comfortable counting Steph Curry out. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like not the
Yeah.
like I feel like he could very easily go on like a heater and carry them. So it's
Facts.
like it's for me, I'm not counting the Warriors out only because I'm not counting Steph out.
Okay.
Um so I think that factoring in the amount of experience they have in the postseason too, and with the way they've been sitting their guys
Yeah.
everywhere they go, they're benching
Yeah.
these dudes, and it's like they really don't care about the regular season. They feel like if we can just
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 get in.
scooch on by real quick
That's
and get
it.
into the
Yep.
postseason, it's
Yep.
on, and everybody better watch out. So
Yeah.
and that strategy could very well come back to bite them. I mean, they could end up in a situation like um, what was it? Was it the bubble year when they played Memphis in that little play-in
End up
situation?
playing.
They,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
they could
And,
end
and
up in
then
a
got knocked
situation
out.
like that, and now
Yeah.
you get knocked out. But I mean, they
Yep.
came back stronger. They came
Yes, they
back stronger the
did.
next
Yes,
time.
they did. They retooled. Yep. Yep. Yep.
So we'll see what happens with that. But as far as who ends up in the finals and things like that, I haven't even
Hmm.
really formed an opinion on like who do I want to win this season.
Right.
And the only people I absolutely would not be okay with winning is, of
I like
course,
that list.
the
Okay.
Lakers.
Okay.
It's the Lakers. I don't want anybody can win.
Right.
I would hate a little bit if Memphis won, just because like I have a lot of Memphis Grizzlies fans that I talk to on Twitter and stuff. That we got that small market camaraderie thing going on,
Hmm.
but it's like sometimes I look at them and I'm like, dang it, we supposed to be doing what you're doing right now,
Right.
and we
Right.
got derailed. But we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
So
Well, look, Rel Myers has been my guest. She is a co-host of the Pels and Whistles podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. Rel, thank you so much for pulling up. Hopefully, we could do this again sometime down the line after the trade deadline.
yeah, I look forward to it, man. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
And then I'll give you a more comprehensive breakdown of the point fraud. It's a lot. I ain't want to make this an hour-long episode, but the point fraud thing is real. Alvarado is a hero amongst many people
We're
throughout
gonna
the
talk about
NBA
it.
Twitter. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
well, I'm definitely gonna come back. We're definitely gonna talk about that because I feel like I was listening to the Zion is a baby Giannis episode, and you brought up
Okay.
Jose, and you said that Jose and Chris Paul were both dirty, and I was like, hold on now, and I was like, the people are gonna have to hear about this. But yeah, I would
But
definitely
dirty
love
in
to
a
get
good way for
more.
Jose, but just not for the
Yeah,
point fraud.
Jose
That's
does
all.
the dirty work, and Chris Paul
Okay.
is dirty.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll take that. I'll even
Yep.
fall back and accept that. That's cool. I'm
We'll come
here for
back
that.
to
No doubt.
it.
No doubt. Thank you, Rel. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.